Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev, and all glories to some Vaishnava devotees. We thank you all for being here again today. We have His Grace Salika Prabhu, who will be speaking today. Salika Prabhu is one of our own. He is the host and the engineer on this platform. So, Salika Prabhu needs no introduction. So, Salika Prabhu, if you're ready, we'll put the verse on the screen and you may take it from here.
Hare Krishna, let the plane of Goloka take off.
All right, Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
Hare. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Naraichaivam Narottamam Devi Sarasvati Vyasam Tatu Jayam Udhirayet Nasta Apraeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Utamam Shloke Bhakti Bhavakti Nasike. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 4. We're hearing from text number 18. On this most auspicious day of the beginning of the auspicious month of the
Purushottama
Mass, which is considered the most auspicious month, which rarely comes. So we pray that may Lord Jagannath, who is Purushottam himself, and his dam, Purushottam Dham, Jagannath Puri, bestows grace and blessings upon us so that we can be able to do this service. So we're reading second canto, chapter 4, text number 18. Very interesting verse. So I'll recite the Sanskrit text, the transliteration of synonyms, and then we'll read the purport, and Srila Prabhupada's long purports because of the nature of this text. Kirata hundaran pulinda pukasam abira sambayavana kasadaya yenyecha papayat apasrayasraya sundyanti tasmai pravishnave namaha. Kirata hundara pulinda pukasa abira sambayavana kasadaya yenyecha papayad apasrayasrayaha sundyanti tasmai pravishnave namaha. Kirata undara pulinda pulkasa abira sambayavana kad sadaya yenyecha papayad apasrayasrayaha sundyanti tasmai pravishnave namaha. Word for word translation: Kirataha, a province of old Bharat. Unaha, part of Germany and Russia. Andhra, a province of southern India. Pulinda, the Greeks. Purukashaha, another province. Abira, part of old Sindh. Sumbaha, another province. Yavana, the Turks. Kasa Adayaha, the Mongolian province. Ye, even those, and ye others. Cha, also. Papaha, addicted to sinful acts. Yat, whose. Apasraya, Asraya, having taken shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Sundyanti, at once purified, cast mine unto him. Prabhavyashnave, unto the powerful Vishnu. Namaha, my respectful obeisances. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace Labai Charanaravinda. Laisi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Jagaguru, Savior of the world, Srila Prabhupada. Kirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasa, Abira, Sumba, Yavana, members of the Kasa races, and even others addicted to sinful acts, can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Due to his being the supreme power, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Kirata, a province of old Bharat Varsha mentioned in the Bhishma Parva of Mahabharata. Generally, the Kiratas are known as the aboriginal tribes of India, and in modern days, the Santa Parganas in Bihar and Chota Nagpur might comprise the old province named Kirata. Huna, the area of East Germany and part of Russia is known as the province of the Hunas. Accordingly, sometimes a kind of eel tribe is known as the Hunas. Andhra, a province is in southern India mentioned in the Bhishma Parva of Mahabharata. It is still extant under the same name. Pulinda, it is mentioned in the Mahabharata, Adi Parva 174-38. Fix the inhabitants of the province of the name Pulinda. The country was conquered by by Bhimasen and Sahadev. The Greeks are known as Pulindas, and it is mentioned in the Vana Parva of Mahabharata that the non-Vedic race of this part of the world would rule over the world. This Pulinda province was also one of the provinces of Bharat, and the inhabitants were classified amongst the Kshatriya kings. But later on, due to their giving up the Brahmanical culture, they were mentioned as Milechas, just as those who are not followers of the Islamic culture are called Kafir. And those who are not followers of the Christian culture are called Atheists. Abira. Scroll up. This name also appears in the Mahabharata, both in the Sabha Parva and Bhishma Parva. It is mentioned that this province was situated on the river Sarasvati in Sindh. The modern Sindh province formerly extended on the other side of the Arabian Sea, and all the inhabitants of that province were known as the Abiras. They were under the domination of Maharaj Yudhishthira. And according to the statements of Markandeya, the Milechas of this part of the world would also rule over Bharata. Later on, this proved to be true, as in the case of the Pulindas. On behalf of the Pulindas, Alexander the Great conquered India. And on behalf of the Abiras, Muhammad Ghori conquered India. These Abiras were also formerly Kshatriyas within the Brahmanical culture, but they gave up the connection. The Kshatriyas who were afraid of Parasura and had hidden themselves in the Caucasian hill regions later on became known as the Abiras, and the place they inhabited was known as Abiradesh. Sumbas or Kankas. The inhabitants of the Kanka province of Old Bharat, mentioned in the Mahabharata. Yavanas. Yavanas was the name of one of the sons of Maharaj Yayati, who was given the part of the world known as Turkey to rule. Therefore, the Turks are Yavanas due to being descendant of Maharaj Yavana. The Yavanas were therefore Kshatriyas and later on, by giving up the Brahmanical culture, they became Melecha Yavanas. Descriptions of the Yavanas are in the Mahabharata, Adi Parva 8534. Another prince called Sulvasu was also known as Yavana, and his country was conquered by Sahadev, one of the Pandavas. The Western Yavanas joined with Duryodhana in the Battle of Kurukshetra under the pressure of Krsna. It was also foretold that these Yavanas also would conquer India. It proves to be true. Kasa, the inhabitants of the Kasa Desh are mentioned in the Mahabharata Drona Parva. Those who have stunted growth of hair on the upper lip are generally called Kasas. As such, the Kasas are the Mongolians, the Chinese, and others who are so designated. The above mentioned historical names are different nations of the world. Even those who are constantly engaged in sinful acts are all corrigible. To the standard of perfect human beings, if they take shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Jesus Christ and Muhammad, peace of Allah be upon him, two powerful devotees of the Lord, have done tremendous service on behalf of the Lord on the surface of the globe. And from the West version of Srila Sukadeva Goswami, it appears that instead of running a godless civilization in the present context of the world situation, if the leadership of world affairs is entrusted to the devotees of the Lord, for which a worldwide organization under the name of and style of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has already been started, then by the grace of the Almighty Lord, there can be a thorough change of heart in human beings all over the world, because the devotees of the Lord are able authorities to effect such a change by purifying the downward minds of the people in general. The politicians of the world may remain in their respective positions because the pure devotees of the Lord are not interested in political leadership or diplomatic implications. The devotees are interested only in seeing that the people in general are not misguided by political propaganda, and that the valuable life of a human being is not spoiled in following a type of civilization which is ultimately doomed. If the politicians, therefore, would be guided by the good counsel of devotees, then certainly there will be a great change in the world situation by the purifying propaganda of the devotees, as shown by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As Sukadeva Goswami began his prayer by discussing the word Yat Ketana, so also Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended that simply by glorifying the Lord's holy name, a tremendous change of heart can take place by which the complete misunderstanding between the human natures created by politicians can at once be extinguished. And after the extinction of the fire of misunderstanding, other profits will follow. The destination is to go back home, back to Godhead, as we have several times discussed in this piece. According to the cult of devotion, generally known as the Vaishnava cult, there is no bar against anyone's advancing in the matter of God realization. The Vaishnava is powerful enough to turn into a Vaishnava, even the Kirata, etc. As above mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 932. It is said by the Lord that there is no bar to becoming a devotee of the Lord, even for those who are low-born or women, Sudras or Vaishyas. And becoming a devotee, everyone is eligible to return back to Godhead. The only qualification is that one takes shelter of a pure devotee of the Lord, who has thorough knowledge in the transcendental science of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. Anyone from any part of the world who becomes well conversant in the science of Krishna consciousness becomes a pure devotee and a spiritual master for the general mass of people, and may reclaim them by purification of heart. Though a person be even the most sinful man, he can at once be purified by systemic contact with a pure Vaishnava. A Vaishnava, therefore, can accept a bona fide disciple from any part of the world without any consideration of caste and creed, and promote him by regulative principles to the status of a pure Vaishnava, who is transcendental to Brahmanical culture. The system of caste or Varnashram Dharma is no longer regular even amongst the so-called followers of the system, nor is it now possible to re-establish the institutional function in the present context of social, political, and economic revolution. Without any reference to the particular custom of country, one can be accepted to the Vaishnava cause spiritually, and there is no hindrance in the transcendental process. So, by the order of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the court of Srimad Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita can be preached all over the world, reclaiming all persons willing to accept the transcendental court. Such cultural propaganda by the devotees will remove all doubts in this connection. Srila Sukadeva Goswami has invoked the blessings of the Lord, who is all-powerful. Prabha. Prabha Vaishnavi. Namaha. As the all-powerful Lord accepts, needed to school up a little bit and say, as the all-powerful Lord accepts the humble service of his devotee in devotional activities of the ashrama, his form as the worshipable deity in the temple. Similarly, the body of a pure Vaishnava changes transcendentally at once when he gives himself up to the service of the Lord and is trained by a qualified Vaishnava. The injunction of Vaishnava regulation in this connection runs as follows. Ashe Vishnu Silade Guru Shunaramati Mati Vaishnavi Jati Buddhi Sri Vishnavu Namai Sabda Samaye Buddhi, etc. One should not consider the deity of the Lord as worship in the temple to be an idol, nor should one consider the authorized spiritual master an ordinary man, nor should one consider a pure Vaishnava to belong to a particular caste, etc. Quoted from Srimad Padma Puran. The conclusion is that the Lord, being all powerful, can under any and every circumstances accept anyone from any part of the world, either personally or through his bona fide manifestation as a spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted many devotees from communities other than the Vaishnava Varnashrama-mites, and he himself declared to teach us that he does not belong to any caste or social order of life, but that he is the eternal servant of the Lord, who maintains the damsels of Vrindavan, of Krishna. That is the way of self-realization. Oma Gyanam Timiran Dasya Gyanam Shala Akaya Shakyo Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutalis Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutta Pada Kamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatantam Sahajivam Adviptam Saiva Dutam Parijanam Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Radha Krishna Pada Sagaman Lalita Sri Vishaka Vishamta E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vindavaneshwari Risha Bhanushute Devi Pranamami Nari Priye Mukhan Karoti Vachalam Pangam Laya Gayati Girim Yakripata Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Panchakarpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Sivascha Patitanam Pavachnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srinivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Tantra Srimad Bhagavatam Jai. So, you're welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam. And this verse that we're treating today, don't worry, sir, if I didn't want to read it, because already there is no enough time. I'm just wondering how we're going to be able to cover. This is the whole of the Bhagavatam compressed in one verse. And looking at the time that we have, I don't know, but we'll try. Today is so loaded that the verse also we're treating is so loaded. Describing and talking about the auspiciousness of the beginning of the month of Purushottam alone could take days to accomplish. Not to talk of the verse we're reading itself. The verse itself has three major areas which it covers, and each of all of the three areas that this verse covered, although it sounds very simple as phrased by Sukadev Goswami, but Prabhupada divided into three major parts. The historical background, which describes the history of the world. That is a whole 1 month's class in itself. How all of this connects to the present day world. Secondly, Prabhupada talked about that despite the description of this class of men who are described here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is an hope. And Prabhupada gave the potency of bhakti. And in the later part of it, Prabhupada concluded by explaining that this bhakti potency is capable enough, is potent enough to take care of anyone who comes in contact with it, who follows the process of bhakti. So in summary, like Srila Prabhupada would say, the whole of the Srimad Bhagavatam can give him in 2 minutes, but it can take 2 billion years to discuss. So I'm going to be pleading and begging the Vaishnavas on this platform, just a second. So sorry for that break. So my appeal is that the devotees who are all gathered on this platform give me their blessing so that I can make a meaning out of this fast and render this service for the purification of myself and for the listening pleasure of all of the devotees. So in the beginning of the text, Srila Sukadev Goswami, he said that the Kiratas, Unas, Andhra, Andhra, Pulinda, Pukasa, Abira, Samba, Yavana, members of the Kasa races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, due to his being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of God. That is Srila Sukadev Goswami's statement. And Prabhupada started giving us the background of this kind of these people that we're talking about. And Prabhupada, in that explanation, make us to understand how the whole of the world is the land of Bharat. We have heard in several discourses how the world was under one ruler, one emperor in the past. And how most importantly, the whole of Vedic culture was permeating the whole of the planet. And how they disseminate into what it becomes today is what this first part of the text Prabhupada is explaining, by identifying all of these places mentioned in the Bhagavatam, how they connect to different parts of the world, and how the history of those places they developed and became what they became in the modern day experience. How the Brahmanical culture, which is the Vedic culture, was relegated, while how it was brought down to what is today's modern situation is explained. And this gives us the highlight. When Prabhupada was giving lectures in the early days of the ISKCON, when he said that our forefathers were all part of the Vedic culture, but due to the historical situation, as we know, the world goes through, according to the Vedic scriptures, 4 cyclic rotation. And everything created in the material world has the systemic effect of the influence of the modes of nature. Everything that comes to be or manifested in the material plane has a beginning, stays for some time, produce a byproduct, dwindle, and eventually it vanishes, which is what the material plane goes through. So according to the degradation of the world, based on the influence of the interactions of the 3 modes of material nature, we have the world that we have today. The Prabhupada brings in the first part of this purport, explaining to us that the whole of the world was under the Vedic culture. But as a result of the influence of the interactions of the 3 modes of material nature and the living entity existing on the Earth planet, they became what we see today, and the degradation of the whole human race. The Prabhupada continued to explain to us that all of these historical names are different nations of the world. They are constantly engaged in civil activities, but the most important thing is that Prabhupada used the word corrigible. Corrigible means that they can be corrected, because the ultimate purpose of human existence is to reconnect or to engage in yoga, to go back home, back to God. Because the living entity, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna himself, Mamaivam so jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, the primary purpose or aim of the living entities in conditional life is to gain back its original consciousness and go back home, back to his original existence in the spiritual world. So now Prabhupada is saying that even though the whole material world is degraded due to the influence of time, but the Lord makes us powerful arrangements to reclaim the soul who have found themselves in this material world. And he mentioned specifically Lord Jesus Christ, Prophet Muhammad, peace of Allah be upon him, how they are all emissary of the Supreme Personality of Godhead at different times for a different race of people on the earth planet. And this is the uniqueness of Krishna consciousness movement, because the International Society for Krishna Consciousness movement encompasses every tradition that is bona fide. And in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's station of the holy name, he mentioned 10 offenses to be avoided, and number 4 of them is to blaspheme the Vedic literatures or literatures in pursuit of Vedic actions. And in relation to what Prabhupada is saying here, these acharyas or these personalities are not alien to the path of bhakti. Why? Because they are part of the arrangement of the Lord to reclaim the souls on the earth planet. So in our modern times, that same arrangement of reclaiming this conditioned soul in the material world is made perfect in the establishment of what we know today as the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. That's what Prabhupada is saying in the purport. Prabhupada is explaining that this International Society for Krishna Consciousness is the modern day arrangement of the Lord to reclaim all of the conditions, so irrespective of their background, whether from their Kulinda or whatever race they belong to. And Prabhupada said something beautiful, that therefore it is important that the politicians of the world should be devotees. They should occupy all the positions of the politicians, political positions in the world, because only a devotee of the Lord can manage the affairs of the Lord, of the earth, because they know the purpose behind the world itself. But Prabhupada went further. Prabhupada, seeing what today's situation is going to be like, it mentioned that, but the devotees doesn't have to go and take the position. Although that would have been the ideal thing, but because of the nature of Kali Yuga, it is not necessary that the devotees should go and sit in the positions of the political because of the what? Prabhupada uses 2 words there to qualify the modern day political situation. That because of the nature of the complexity of the conditions of the nature of politics in this age, Prabhupada said devotees doesn't have to. Rather, the best approach is that devotees should become consultants, guardians, instructors to the politicians. And our spiritual master is Divine Grace Labhakti Tita Swami laid a perfect example of what Prabhupada is saying in this part of the purport. While he was busy developing Brahminica devotees all over the planet, he was showing them what he is developing them to become. That to become a devotee is not just to sit in the temple room and play the role of temple president and commander, or just to go on the street and give books, or to just go to some low communities and do kirtan. These are all part of Krishna consciousness activities. But beyond that, what Prabhupada is saying in this part of the purpose is that we need to influence those who are influencers of the society, the politicians. And Srila Bhakti Swami, he played this very perfectly. And he encourages his disciples to do the same. So this is one area that we all need to put our energy if we actually want to see the change in the world. The primary duty of the devotees is to change the world by changing the people that exist in the material world. But because the politicians are so much powerful and influential, and it is not accidental, because Lord Krishna himself said in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita, that whatever a great man does, whatever exemplary act he performs, people in general pursue. So the politicians, they have this powerful influence, the government person, leadership has much of a power to influence the society. Our ability to influence the society to become God-conscious society will be effective on how much we influence those who are influencing the society. If we go onto the street, we can do book distributions, we can do arena. That is powerful. We recruit the soldiers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from there. But our real primary goal is what Prabhupada is saying here. We have to influence the people who influence the society. So Prabhupada said, yes, devotees could become politicians. He said, but better than that is to become the influencers of the politicians. And Papa said that as Sukadev Goswami began his prayers, so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught us how to follow this. So the primary role or duty of the devotee is to come to this platform, become a devotee. Our becoming a devotee, our primary duty is to influence those who influence the society so that we can have a better world. Because when we influence those who influence the society, they make them devotees. They in turn can influence others to become a devotee. Some few days back, someone posted on the Hare Krishna Africa platform, Lionel Messi, after scoring a goal, raises his t-shirt. Somebody said maybe this is a Photoshop. But whether it is Photoshop or no Photoshop, it is circulated all over the media. And it creates an impression. Because when the people who are influencing society become themselves Krishna conscious, then the society generally becomes attractive. Early hours of today, before coming for this class, I was in a research program, documentary, maybe in a short period of time, it will come to, when the video is produced, we'll share it with devotees. We are in a research project done by a university from UK, and they wanted to see how an organization that we champion called Just Stakeholder Center for Peace has become a global reference to how to develop peace in the society. So they wanted to know, what is the influence? How did this happen? And I became so humble today. Why? Because in the course of their narration, hardly out of the 30 participants that were selected to speak on that organizational platform, maybe one or two persons did not reference to Krishna consciousness movement. Our Krishna consciousness movement, through its representation in the platform, has created a balanced representation of a real global peace, harmony, interreligious activities. And I was so glorified because Prabhupada's name, Prabhupada's mission is entering. And on an auspicious day like today, I was wondering, I said, so Prabhupada has done so much of wonderful work. I would never have known how much people are appreciating Krishna consciousness unless that kind of a fora. And this is what the Lord wants and the spiritual acharyas want us to do. And the beauty is this, that as they do this, the most significant aspect of it is that consciously or unconsciously, repeatedly, many of them were chanting Hare Krishna because they have to call the Hare Krishna movement. They have to call the representative of Hare Krishna movement. So they kept on chanting. I was just laughing. They didn't know what the reason I'm laughing. They think maybe because my name is mentioned, but my inner satisfaction and happiness was because practically everybody was chanting Hare Krishna. Whether they are intentionally doing it, whether they are doing this for whatever reason, but the thing is that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is expanding. And the purpose for which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came is manifesting because by chanting this name, even unconsciously, and that is what Prabhupada is saying in the next paragraph, people become purified and qualified to become. These people majority of them may not become regular devotees in this lifetime, but there is hope that in their next life and their coming next life, they will become devotees of the Lord because they have chanted the names of the Lord. And that is what Prabhupada is saying here, that according to the court of devotional service, generally known as the Vaishnava court, there is no bar against anyone's advancing the matter of God to realization. The Vaishnava is powerful enough to turn the Vaishnava, even to turn into a Vaishnava, even the Kiratas. And that is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us, and Srila Prabhupada has made it manifested. And without doing anything, as carriers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, even though we ourselves are not pure devotees, but because of the powerful potency of Srila Prabhupada's ability to spread the name of the Lord across the globe, this mission of the Lord is being achieved. And that takes us to the potency of Bhakti. Bhakti is so potent that just by mentioning the name of Krishna, these people becomes liberated automatically. This is the power of Bhakti. Bhakti does not mean until when someone becomes a monk and he sits in the temple room. No. Bhakti means that when one has the opportunity just to chant the name of the Lord, to see the devotee of the Lord, to enter the temple of the Lord. In that event that we had today, I was just having a request. All of the participants are saying that they want to come and visit the temple again. And by their coming, Prabhupada mentioned in the course of the purport, the deities of the Lord are not idol. They are Acha Virgraha. They are a form of the Lord. The Lord will give them opportunity. One of the participants was giving a testimony. He said, I would never, he is a lawyer. She's a lawyer, rather. She is she. He said, I will never have believed that God has a manifestation like that of Krishna if I had not come to this platform. He said, my experience was that when I came there, first impression was that, how can I associate with this kind of a cult? But then when I had the opportunity to come closer, I saw that the representative is down to earth. The organization is down to earth. Everyone is accommodated. That is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given. That is the power of potency of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that even one who is a non-devotee, according to our categorization, glorifies the Lord directly or indirectly. And by glorifying the Lord in this way, most importantly, on an auspicious day like the day of Purushottam beginning, their bhakti process begins. So this auspicious process of devotional service, Prabhupada glorified in this paragraph of the purport. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is further elaborated in a verse, where in the 5th canto, chapter 18, text number 12, it is said that Yasyati Bhakti Bhagavati Akinchana Sarva Gunais Tatra Samasate Sura Arava Bhakta Syakuto Mahaguna Mano Ratena Sati Yavasto Bahi. That one who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Personality of God has all the good qualities of the Lord. And that is what Srila Prabhupada manifested. That is what the acharyas have given. Because by their activities, they give Krishna to each and everyone. by their potency, by their narrations, they liberate the whole world. So Prabhupada is really the purpose that this bhakti process is so potent, so powerful, that anyone, whoever, whether it's Kirata, Pulinda, Milecha, whatever name that is given to, no matter how degraded they become, if they have the opportunity to come to this part of bhakti, then they become fortunate. And Prabhupada said, goes further to explain that, and this does not have to do with the process of following the Varnashram Dham system, which is even not properly practiced in India. Prabhupada said, the system of caste of Varnashram Dham is no longer regular even among the so-called followers of the system, nor is it now possible to re-establish the institutional function in the present context of social, political, and economic revolution, without any reference to the particular custom of a country. One can be accepted to the Vaishnava court spiritually, and there is no hindrance in the transcendental process. So by the order of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the court of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita can be preached all over the world. This is the potency of bhakti, and spread across the whole of the scriptures. In the Skanda Purana, in the narration of the story of the hunter who was liberated by the association of Narad Muni, it is mentioned that just by the association with the name, the form, the person, the sound vibrations of the holy name, the whole world can become purified. That's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us the Sankirtan movement. But this Brihad Mridanga transcendental book distribution of Srila Prabhupada has to be expanded. For this is the only solution to the whole of the world issues that permeates the world, that bewilders the world. And Prabhupada, in explaining this, he said that what? That the body of a devotee, after talking about the deities, he said, similarly, the body of a pure Vaishnava changes transcendentally at once when he gives himself up to the service of the Lord and is trained by by a qualified Vaishnava. The injunction of Vaishnava regulation in this connection runs as follows. One should not consider the deity of the Lord as worshipped in the temple or to be an idol. One should not consider the authorized scriptural master an ordinary person. So, given the potency of those who are representative of the Lord, the spiritual master. And he mentioned there that anyone also can actually become a spiritual master. It does not matter whether the person is a Melecha, whether he's a Pulinda, whatever race he belongs to. In other words, we are qualified to become spiritual master because that is the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that we all become a spiritual master and liberate the whole world. We should become the vessel, the carrier of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. And Prabhupada concluded in his purport that the conclusion is that the Lord, being all-powerful, can under any and every circumstances accept anyone from any part of the world, either personally or through his bona fide manifestation as the spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted many devotees from communities other than the Varna Ashramites, and he himself declared to teach us that it does not belong to any case of social order. Na Danam, na Janam, na Sundarim, Kavitam, Jagat, Kamayi, Mama Jamani, Shwari, Bhavatad Bhakti. I took to I have no desire to accommodate you, no desire with women. I want to only be your servant, life after life. So the all of this long narration of Srila Prabhupada in this purport is to bring us to the one conclusion that devotional service is not difficult, but it could become the most difficult thing to achieve when we misidentify ourselves. And that is why the basis of Krishna consciousness is what? Our greatest challenges is today, in our today development of Krishna consciousness, that is that we have forgotten the basis of Krishna consciousness, and we identify ourselves to be temple presidents, to be temple commanders, to be Hare Krishna devotee, to be member of ISKCON movement, and we forget the essence of being in any of these identities that we carry. So it is important by the narration of this verse that we're reading, that identities has no place in Krishna consciousness when it comes to the mundane identification. In other words, we have to rise above our functional identities as whatever that we give to ourselves in our, even when we're in devotional environment, to come to our spiritual identity, which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifested, and he demonstrated, and he taught us. That's a Dasa, Anu Das, that we're servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. And when we develop this mood, we will become the carrier of Krishna and Krishna consciousness movement teachings. And in this way, we'll maximally, effectively, potentially affect everyone and anyone around us. And in this way, spread the culture of bhakti across the globe. And in this way, the whole world can become purified. And the world that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dreamed of will manifest even in our own lifetime. So like I said in the beginning, this is a very powerful month. And I will not end this class without mentioning some of the glories of the month of Purushottam. The month of Purushottam is said to be the greatest of all months. And it is interesting that the scriptures mention that the Purushottam Mass is the most auspicious for those who are bhaktas. But for those who are Kamakandas, even followers of Vedic culture, who see Purushottam Mass as a auspicious time, and they wanted to increase their material desires in the month of, it becomes inauspicious for them. Because, why? Because they cannot get any material fruitive result from their worship during this month. That is how, how powerful the month is. So when we talked about auspiciousness of the month, general tendency is that devotees most of the time, and even outside of the devotee community, auspiciousness, just like we were discussing yesterday about success. When we talked about auspiciousness and success, people start wondering, material opulence, material wealth. But Purushottam Mass is not for that. Purushottam Mass, or the month of Purushottam, is essentially for spiritual growth. So if we actually want to benefit from this year, Purushottam Mass, we should allow the Lord to take care of our needs by himself because he has capacity, but we should take care of what the Lord wants from us. Because if we focus on developing material piety in the month of Purushottam, it will work oppositely for us. That is what the scriptures have said. The month of Purushottam Mass is meant for spiritual development. And there are so many references from the scriptures. Lord Krishna himself said in the Skanda Purana that Purushottam Mass has all the power. I have to bless its observer. One who follows Purushottam Mass Vrat will destroy reactions. Without performing Purushottam Vrat, one cannot perform pure devotional service. The value of Purushottam month is far more valuable than all other types of austerities and religious activities mentioned in the Vedas. Anyone who observes the Purushottam mass will return to my abode, Goloka, at the end of his life. That is what Lord Krishna himself said about the month of Purushottam mass. And Professor Muni pronounces, he says that just by bathing in a holy river during Purushottam month, one becomes sinless. The glories of all other months is not equal to the 1/16 of the glory of the Purushottam mass or month. So by bathing in a holy place, giving charity and chanting the holy name of Krishna during the Purushottam mass month, all miseries are destroyed and one attains all kinds of perfections and fulfill all his desires. And about Purushottam mass, the great sage Valmiki said that by observing Purushottam mass vrat, one attains more benefit than performing 100 horses sacrifices. All holy places live within the body of a Purushottam month vrat. And anyone who faithfully performs Purushottam mass will go to Goloka Vrindavan. It didn't say to Vaikuntha, it said he will go to Goloka Vrindavan. By the statement of, I think, Valmiki's Dev. And Narada Muni himself said that Purushottam month is the best of all months, of all vrats and austerities. And just by faithfully, this is very important, by faithfully hearing the glories of Purushottam month, one attains Krishna Bhakti and immediately nullify all his sinful reactions. One who performs Purushottam vrat properly will attain unlimited sukriti and go to the spiritual world. It is said that if one actually does not have the ability to perform all kinds of vrat in the month of Purushottam mass, just simply by listening to Bhagavatam narrations for the whole of the month of Purushottam mass, it develops enough piety that awards him bhakti. And one who gets that bhakti goes automatically to the Goloka Vrindavan. That is the promise of the scriptures. And I'll quote one more references before stopping. There are several references. The sages of Naimi Sarayan, they unitedly expresses that the merciful month of Purushottam acts like a desire tree to fulfill a devotee's desire. In other words, it's Kalpa Vriksha, it's wish-fulfilling tree, this month of Purushottam that marks. So if one wants to become a successful endeavor in the path of bhakti, we may not be able to perform so many austerity, but just simply by hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam every day of the month of Purushottam mass, bhakti is guaranteed. So who is that person who will not take leverage just by hearing attentively this Srimad Bhagavatam in the month of Purushottam mass? So I want to stop here because, like I said, the glories of today, the verse of today, we can continue discussing it for a whole month. But for one thing of time, I would like to stop here and entertain comments, contributions, corrections, questions, realizations. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, His Grace Salika Prabhu, for I was wondering how you were going to tackle this text, which is a combination of history and sociology plus spirituality. but you did really good justice to it. So thank you. We have Mitravina Devi has a hand up. Please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hi, Krishna. I just want to say how fortunate I am. We all are in this platform here. Such nourishing, fulfilling, scriptural, scripturally intelligent, emotionally intelligent information shared by the Cambodia, Salika, and also Sahadev Guru, and all of the other wonderful studies who share the time to wonderful. My comment about today's sharing of Srimad Bhagavatam was the words themselves essentially.
Mitravina Devi, you might have to reposition yourself because your voice is breaking up a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better now.
Okay, anyway, I just wanted to say how fulfilling and nourishing today's discourse was. Salika went the full gambit. He was able to harness and connect us to the essence of Bhakti, the aspects of non-sectarianism, the reason for the holy months in a way that relates to not us taking, but actually understanding what we're giving in order to get, or what we're getting in order to give, in service to Sri Krishna and all living entities. And that it's not a competition, that, you know, the source is eternal, the source is filled with knowledge and is supreme, and all things come from. Therefore, there's no need to compete, only to connect. And I thank you so much, Salika, for this really wonderful class on the day of this holy. Thank you. It's great.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mitravina Devi. Thank you for the recognition. Actually, part of the recommendation in this month of Purushottama is for one to stay away from unnecessary criticisms. And Salika Prabhu, you may, if you have something to say in regards to what Grace shared, she was just expressing her appreciation.
Yeah. I really did not capture most of what she said.
Yeah, she was expressing appreciation. She was expressing appreciation for the class and the Sangha in general, and how we did not act as sectarian, not priding ourselves over everybody else. We accommodate and respect everybody else's practices. So she was expressing appreciations in that regard.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Madam Mitravina.
Yeah, her line was breaking up a little bit, so yes, I can understand.
Yeah, so I had part of the appreciation, but I didn't hear all. But then, thank you very much for the appreciation, because actually this is the month of appreciation, like Sahadev Prabhu said. And one of the injunctions for this month is that even if one sees somebody who does a wrongdoing, one should glorify that person, but not that we should encourage misbehaviors, but one should endeavor not to criticize anyone at all in the month of Purushottam. Like we said, it's a spiritual month. And Purushottam actually is Lord Jagannath himself. It's not the month, this is the month of Lord Jagannath, and Lord Jagannath is said to be the Jagannath, Lord of the universe. And because he's the Lord of the universe, he has become manifested in this month. And then as nature, even in the material world, you don't see a great personality every other time. So the Lord comes, and it is said, according to earthly calendar, this period of the Lord appearing here in the form of the month of Purushottam comes once in about 1,000 days, which is about accumulatively over 1,000 days. Cumulatively, we're talking about 3 months. 3 years. Sorry. So it's a rare opportunity for one, and then we all engage in devotional service for several years. But as we grow in devotional service, we should use opportunity of this kind of event, like the Bhakti Vinod Thakur explained, that all of this remembrance is to give us opportunity to reconnect. And I like the ways that Gurudev used to put it. He said that one is not yet a devotee if he does not join Krishna consciousness on a daily basis. In other words, we have to rejoin Krishna consciousness. So some of us have experienced many moments of Purushottam, but this opportunity now to really, because it's like giving opportunity, a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and unlimited opportunities to repractice. There was a course I was doing recently on online, an online course on the role of faith actors in peace development, and that course was such a tedious one. And when I did and then you are expected, when you do that course, for you to be certificated, you needed to have minimum of 75 to 80% for you to be, 75 to 80 to be certificated in that course. So when I attended the course initially, I did the course and I had 55%. So I said, oh my God, I failed after so many hours, so many days of doing this course. So it's gone. But then immediately that mark came up, another page just came up and said, do you want to retry? And I realized that I don't have to go back to all of the beginning. The only thing I needed to do was just to retry the questions again. And I later found out that you can actually do the question 3, 4, 5 times without having to go to the beginning of the course. Because what I experienced initially, my alarming situation initially was that was the end. I've lost all of the time and effort, situation I put into it. So in the same way, in Bhakti, it is said that it takes only 1 second to become a pure devotee and go back to Godhead. But we have had millions and trillions of seconds in the path of Krishna consciousness. So the Lord, by all of this kind of an arrangement, give us another opportunity to try and retry and try and retry over and over again, so that there is no loss or diminution. So in the process of retrying and trying and retrying and trying over and over again, if we become fortunate, we get it outright. And then this particular course, when I had to try, so when I tried it the second time, and because I had the opportunity to retry the same question, I got 86%. And I wasn't satisfied because I knew I could go back. So I went back to do it again the third time until I did it about 4 times. And at the 4th trial, I got 100%. And I said, yes, okay. Now only then I now click submitted. Then to get certification. So when you go to that now, I'll be getting 100%. But my 100% didn't come in 1 trial. It came after 4 trials. So in the same way, in Krishna consciousness, we have tried for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years, for 40 years, depending on when we join the movement. But this opportunity is an opportunity to retry to get 100%. And that 100% is going back to Goloka Vrindavan, even in this lifetime. And that is what the Lord is affording us. So we can take advantage of it. Just by chanting consciously, attentively, just one name in this month, one is guaranteed Goloka Vrindavan. And in this month, we have 30 days from the 18th to the 16th of August. In a week, we have 7 days. In a day, we have 24 hours. So if we consciously just try to remember Krishna and chant his name once. Let's put that as an effort, even just as an exercise. For me, I'm planning, I said, every day, I will try within a period of time within the day. I will try to focus on trying to remember Krishna while I'm chanting. And hopefully, maybe within those trials, within the next 30 days, I'll be fortunate enough to at least consciously, attentively, with remembrance mind, chant the name of Krishna once. So it's an opportunity for us that Krishna is giving. As Labati Vinod Thakur has nicely explained it, that all of these opportunities are coming so that we can actually get an opportunity, even in this one lifetime, to go back to God. So thank you very much, Madam Brinda, for your appreciation. And we cannot glorify the opportunity of this month enough.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Salika Prabhu. So if anyone has a question, comment, please, you may indicate that by using the hand emoji, and you'll be asked to unmute to speak.
Maybe some realization also, or some comments.
Well, realizations, comments also welcome. See, Prabhuji, as devotees of ISKCON, we hear this from time to time. Purushottama month, a whole 30 days. Very, very special, so unique. It comes around almost every 3 years. Then we hear about the importance of observing Guru Purnima fast, the Krishna Janmashtami fast, the Ekadashi fast. And out of all the Ekadashis, it is said Nirjala Ekadashi, which is Ekadashi which is observed in reverence of Bhima, is the most auspicious. I mean, it is said if you observe that fast, it's like you've observed all the 24 Ekadashi fasts. We have all these opportunities to observe these things and become enlightened, become more devoted. But some of us have been trying to do these things. And like Rasvilas was asking yesterday, when we try to measure our devotion, we are still very, very far below. So my question is, I know the potency is there in all these vrats that we are encouraged to observe, but it seems to me that most of us, including myself, are not observing it the right way. So I would like you to share with us the proper way, the proper mood to observing these important vrats that we have in our scriptures. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Sadi, for this beautiful question. I was expecting actually this question to come in the course of this discussion. No one becomes, Prabhupada also mentioned in the purport, no one becomes anything without taking shelter of someone who is on the path of that thing. And our scriptures put it in a very simpler way, that for us to be able to engage, observe any vrat, engage in Krishna consciousness, we need only one thing: sadhu sangha. We may or may not be able to perfectly do them. Because why? We are all coming from a background of conditional life. Even when we desire it, sometimes we do not have enough punya karmana. Like it is said, Yesham tuanta gata papam, get a man punya karmana. They don't have any mukta. But to develop determination to do this vrat, it requires purification from previous life and in this life. In other words, many lifetimes. For one to be able to come, to be able to do this vrat. And if one does not develop the three qualities described by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion, that for success, one needs three things. One needs enthusiasm. One is to be, one needs to be patient. Unless one develops these three qualities, he cannot do it. But even this becomes difficult for one who is conditioned. And that's why Arjuna asked Lord Krishna. He said, what is that thing that impels you? As if it is by force. You want to do something good, but it impels you to do something negatively. And you wonder, why am I doing this? But I wanted to do the good thing. Why is it that I'm doing the bad thing? It is as a result of our previous karma, our activities in our previous many lifetimes back. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave. Brahmananda Brahmite Konya Bhagavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prashade. Only by becoming fortunate in contact of the pure devotees of the Lord is one able to do this. So therefore, for us to be able to actually do this, one has to seek for the association of devotees. If one is fortunate at the facilities, one should stay in Vrindavan in this month of holy month of Purushottam. But when I say be in Vrindavan, it doesn't mean that to be in physical Vrindavan, to be in consciousness of Vrindavan, because La Prabhupada by his mercy has created Vrindavan everywhere. And the only thing you find in Vrindavan is what? Krishna and his associates. So when we enter into the Vrindavan, we will have the association of Bhaktas. We will have association of the Lord. So whatever vows we want to take, no matter how small it is, ability to attain success in that vrat is dependent on how much association we take within the month of Purushottam. In other words, the secret of success in this month depends on the level of our association. And that is why it is said, put in a simpler terms, that we should, throughout the month of Purushottam, we should endeavor to hear Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, daily. And interestingly, this is one of the 5 angles of Bhakti that is most potent, as given by Srila Rupa Goswami. So we may have the intention, we may have the desire, but ability to be able to do this vrat is to do it in the association of devotees. Now the question is, who is a devotee? It is difficult for one who is non-devotee to know a devotee. And that's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he described a devotee in different categories. But there is no complexity, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, and Prabhupada quoted in the purport of Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, that all we need in this regard is sincerity of purpose. When we sincerely want to associate with the Lord and his pure devotee, the Lord will make them appear before us. As like my Guru Maharaj will say, he said, when you look back at the time we all joined this movement and look at our internal meditation at that time, there are those times in our lives when we are thinking seriously to know something, to get knowledge more about God. And that moment, the Lord appeared before us. So if we want the benefit of Purushottam Mass, which is to attain Goloka Vrindavan, the secret is Sadhu Sangha. And if we want Sadhu Sangha, how do we get Sadhu Sangha? It is simple. Let us develop the internal meditation that the Lord, I don't know who is a pure devotee. You are the Lord of the heart. Connect me with your pure devotee, because I know by meeting your pure devotee, all my inauspiciousness will disappear and become auspicious. But if we try by our own endeavor to find who is a pure devotee, we may even go to Vrindavan, geographical place in India, and we will not see any pure devotee. Neither do we see the Lord. So how to get that sadhu sangha is from the heart, with sincerity of purpose. Let us consciously seek for that pure devotee from our heart, and it will manifest in our physical presence by the grace of the Lord. Hare Krishna. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Salika Prabhu, for the answer. You were talking about on social media, there was this photo of Lionel Messi with Srila Prabhupada on his undershirt. And for the name, Ras Vilas made a comment about it in the chat room, and I would like to read. It says, one devotee in Ghana who is a football coach confirmed that that was not a Photoshop artwork, and that he watched the game in 2006, and he indeed raised his jersey to show that picture of Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. He also confirmed the world-claimed footballer Lionel Messi is a vegetarian as well. So this is what Ras Vilas is sharing.
Thank you very much, Vilas Prabhu, for sharing that. I know that it's amazing. When you check the secret of so many successful people in the world, you might not know. But when you have an opportunity to actually come to the global space and see great personalities, you cannot separate them from Krishna consciousness, values, connections. I share one experience with you. Recently, I was in Rwanda, and there was this lady. She's a Muslim, and you never believe that she's a Muslim, actually. In fact, she's from Russia, and Bosnia. And actually, from the time I had known her online, I used to think that she's a Christian. But in that meeting, I came to realize she's a Muslim. And in one of the sections that we had, there were some questions that were asked. And I was shocked, because one of the things that we did in that program was that everyone should bring what is the most valuable things in his life to share with others. So I went with Bhagavad. I went with Ganges water and the water from Nigeria. And I explained why they are significant in my life. But when I presented the Gita in the beginning, she looked curiously at me. And my explanation was that I said why it is so unique in my life is that in every journey, for you to successfully get to your destination, you need to know the path or have a good map that takes you to the destination. Said if you don't know, you will get lost. But it's not an excuse that you don't know. You should look for a good map. I said the Krishna Bhagavad Gita is the map of my life, because life for me is a journey. And everyone can attest to the fact that we started this journey some years back. Some of us 30 years, some of us 40 years, some of us 15 years, some of us 70 years back. And this journey, whether we know or we don't know, whether we like, we don't like, whether we acknowledge, we don't acknowledge, is going to come to an end someday. So for me, life is a journey. And there is only, I do not know how to traverse this journey, but there is one map that guides my journey. And it has never failed me in taking part of this journey. I said, that is the Bhagavad Gita. And that is why it is more key and the most important in my life. And the lady looked at me very, very with a kind of a gesture. And I was, why was she looking at me like that? So in the further sections, when he was going to speak, he said, there are so many scriptures in the world. We're doing something different. He said, but I'm not a Hindu. I'm not a follower of Hindu religion. He said, but when I have a serious, difficult questions about life to ask, I approach the Bhagavad Gita, which Salika said is its mark. Maybe also I should adopt that word, that Bhagavad Gita is my life mark that guides me through the life journey. And I was so shocked because I would never have thought this person, because from the time I've been looking at, I never would have seen a connection to Bhagavad Gita in any way. And there I've seen so many. There's one ambassador, the ambassador Ethiopian ambassador of Minister of Interior. When we attended the AU summit and we met, and I was introduced, he came close to me. He said, "You are a real gem." I said, "What? You don't know me before. What gave you that perception about me?" He said, you are carrying something that is radiating beyond any radiation." He said, "Bhagavad Gita, I love it. It's my life." And these are some of the experiences you hear. People you never have thought that they have anything connected to Krishna consciousness. But when you hear them speak about the vast of knowledge that you find in the Bhagavad Gita, you wonder how sheepishly we have taken this knowledge, this process that we got, like Leshatama Prabhu said, free of charge. Hare Krishna. I think there is an on-off. Srimad Prabhu wants to make some comment.
Yeah. I hope this number of people that have come across your life who are appreciating Bhagavad Gita, we hope they're all reading Bhagavad Gita as it is, or at least most of them are reading Bhagavad Gita.
That's interesting. That is interesting.
Not any other version.
That is interesting. That is interesting. The uniqueness of it is that I've never seen any one of these persons talking to me who will not mention Prabhupada, Bhagavad Gita. And that is the most interesting aspect of it. When they will say it, they will say it quoting Prabhupada. Some of them will even tell you Bhagavad Gita as it is. And these are people who are not in any way practitioners of Krishna consciousness movement. Some of them are Muslims, some of them are Christians. Let me even tell you one interesting thing. There's one lady, she's from Ecuador.
Yeah.
Her name is Seleti. Seleti, there is an Amazon production talking about earth and nature. And she's telling me, she said, I must watch that Amazon, and I said, I want to get that Amazon creation video, imaginary video that takes you to the earth and shows you a lot of wonderful things. And when I was speaking with this particular lady, and she was telling me, he said, you know what? Srila Prabhupada is great. It's a gift to this world that nobody can quantify. These were our words. She's not even a Christian. She's not a Muslim. You know, these people that are, they call them, we will call them here traditionalists, but in the secular world, they call them earth worshippers. They worship earth, Mother Earth, as nature, and the Mother Nature in the form of earth. That's what she does. She's not a Christian, she's not a Muslim, but when she talks about Prabhupada, you'll be wondering whether you're talking to a regular resident devotee of ISKCON movement. So Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is unique.
Thank you so much. So we go to His Grace Srimad Bhagavatam Prabhu, please give me on mute. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, peace accept my humble obeisances. Salika,
Hare Krishna.
glories to Srila Prabhupada, or glories to all the assembled devotees. First, I have to thank you for enlivening us, with your Christian activities. It's very enlivening to hear these interactions and getting how much people appreciate Krishna consciousness. I've had an experience of this, so I could relate with what you are sharing. Anywhere we have interfaith activities, Krishna consciousness shine very brightly, and immediately, in fact, sometimes people feel threatened, that these things happen. So thank you very much, that this is happening, especially from Nigeria, where somehow or the other it's like we're getting into the oblivion, but somehow Krishna is keeping the light on. So I actually have a question.
Okay.
Purushottam Mass appears always during Chaturmasya. And it is said that during Purushottam Mass, we don't observe Chaturmasya. So now my little confusion is, when you look at all the observations that are recommended for Purushottam Mass, and you also look for the observation of Chaturmasya, I really don't see the difference. In a Chaturmasya, you have to take some vows, do some fasting, read more, chant more, and etc. Purushottam Mass is the same, except that fasting for the leafy vegetable during the Purushottam Mass, for the reason why this time around is divided into two sections. The first 15 days and then another 15 days at the end of August, because Purushottam Mass come in the middle. But besides that, I don't see any other difference in the observance of Purushottam Mass. And both of them, Chaturmasya is observing austerity, chanting, not shaving your head if you want, taking some vows. Same thing, Purushottam Mass, most of the recommendations are more or less the same. So that is what I'm a little bit confused about. Why is this statement that we do not observe Purushottam, we do not observe Chaturmasya during Purushottam?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for this beautiful question. I will try to attempt to answer it. I also read that somewhere, and I will accept that. But what came to my mind is, based on my little experience and knowledge, is that when Maitreya Muni and Vidura was in their conversation about Uddhava, discussions with Lord Krishna when he was about to depart. It is said that when the Lord was departing, he had to leave something to represent himself. And that is the manifestation of the Bhagavatam. And taking it from that tree, the living entities existence in this material world requires austerity to go back to God. So therefore, the month of Chaturmasya is specifically the arrangement of the Lord to give maximum opportunity within a period of a time. So the sages at that point, they take austerity. But then, when the Lord himself is present, I'm trying to remember a story in the appearance of Lord Krishna. When the Lord himself is present, there's a story. I'm trying to connect that story exactly as it is. When the Lord, when he was asked about why the devotees were not fasting, when Lord Krishna was present, I'm trying to connect that story. There's a story like that. I can't remember fully that story now. But when the Lord is present, because he is the supreme, is the purpose, is the creator of all principles, and when he himself is present, then there is no need for austerity. There is a story connects to this that explains this very nicely in the Krsna Lila. I can't remember that story now, but there is a story that was when the Lord appeared. Why the Brajavasis and the Gopas? I can't recollect that story. I'm trying to remember, but they were not observing that because the Lord was physically present. So from that narration of that story, what I understood is that because Satumasya is meant to perform austerity, but because the Lord himself appeared within that period, there is no need for austerity. But then, when the Lord makes himself perfectly present or present in himself, the devotees perform more austerities. And I'll give a practical experience of this. In our devotional practice, when our spiritual master is physically not present, we all are taking different kinds of austerity to represent his mission. And when he physically visits us, most of the regular activities we do, when he is not physically present, we are not able to do them because of his presence. But the reality we have experienced is that that period is when we actually engage in more austere activities. If we were sleeping 5 hours when he was not physically present, we will not follow the regulations of not sleep by sleeping 5 hours, but we end up sleeping less than that a period of time because of activities of the spiritual master in our midst. And from this experience, I have this understanding that when the Purushottam Mass comes, because it's a manifestation of the Lord within the period of the austerity, although the austerities are no longer applicable, but more austerities are performed because the presence of the Lord requires a lot of austerity to be in his association. That is my understanding. I have not read anything in regards to answer to your question directly from any scriptures. But from that story, maybe in the course of this discussion, I will remember that story. There was a story about that was asked about whether the gopis or the gopis were not fasting when the Lord was present. I can't remember that story correctly, so I didn't want to repeat it. But to say that because the Lord himself was physically present, there was no need for that austerity. That is my understanding. That's what has been in my mind. And I'm looking forward to maybe if you have some better explanations to share with us on this, I'll really appreciate that.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the attempted answer. And thank you for the question, Shimavara Jagabram. I do not have a definite answer to that, but all I can think in regards to the question is like when we say Brahma Muhurta hour, which lasts for like 48 minutes, and there is a particular expansion or manifestation of the Lord who is in charge of that particular period. So the 24-hour period in a day in our world is subdivided into different minutes to hours, which are all governed by different expansions of the Lord. Just like in the months, we say this month is maybe the Damodara month, this month is this personality's month. So my understanding is that according to the Vedic astrology, this extra month, making it additional, according to Vedic calculation, actually, we have 13 months instead of 12 months. But this month is an extra month using the lunar calculation after close to every 3 years, which is a month that Lord Jagannath himself appears to shower his blessings. So that is just the only difference to me, to my understanding. Just like Salika Prabhu was explaining, is the personality behind the time. who is ruling. And this time is being ruled over by Lord Jagannath himself, the most merciful. So that is my little understanding, but I think it's worth looking into that and getting a very concrete answer to that question.
Someone from Prabhu wants to say something. Yes.
Yes, probably you may do that.
No, not at all. So I've heard you. I mean, you've both tried to say something. I understand that this is Purushottam month, the Lord's special month. Chaturmasya, we do austerities. Purushottam also, to get the benefit, we do austerity. So that's why I'm asking. And they say you don't do Purushottam during Chaturmasya. What's the difference? So anyway, we'll find out more later on.
Yeah.
I see that both of them were doing austerities anyway. So why do we say we do not observe Purushottam during Chaturmasya when both of them actually asked us to do austerities? So that's my confusion that I don't understand.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for your
I didn't even know that aspect until today you mentioned that.
Yeah, I read it somewhere, but I actually have not gotten a concrete answer.
Well, I didn't know.
Get some other senior devotees come and within the month, and we'll ask that question to them to be able to, who have read a little bit more, why we don't do Chaturmasya in the month of Purushottam. Like I said, I just shared my understanding. When I read it, my understanding is that, okay, because the Lord himself is personally present, so there is no need for austerity. There is a story connected to that. I've forgotten that story now. But there's a story that when the Lord is physically present, there is no need for austerity. But the reality is that when the Lord is present, you actually find that devotees engage in more austerities. So that is my understanding of that statement when I read it. So, but let's see.
It's worth looking into it much further.
Exactly.
But there is a question in the chat room.
Okay.
And the first comment Rasvilas Prabhu made about Lionel Messi, I do not know very much about Srila Prabhupada's photo and his undershirt. That much I do not know whether it's Photoshop or not. But the other aspect that Lionel Messi is a vegetarian, that much I know. He's not typically vegetarian per se, it's more or less like a vegan. And the reason is just to stay fit, and I agree that Dr. Swami Maharaj used to talk about, I think it was Salika Prabhu also who was speaking and was making a reference to Gurudev talking about Muhammad Ali, the renowned boxer, that he will stay away from the wife for so many months when he has a very serious fight, just to prepare himself physically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, spiritually. So personally, I have one lady friend here, and that's how we became friends, because she got to know I'm a vegetarian, but she was a vegan before she married. When she married, the husband was not practicing any sort of vegetarianism. So she stepped down from a vegan to being a vegetarian. And it's not for any spiritual purpose. She just read a book and the book was talking about the benefits of practicing veganism, the health benefits in particular. She was really young at the time. She was in her early teens and she adopted it. She is now in her 40s and she is still a vegetarian. So the Lionel Messi is observing this for good health. So whether it's for good health or whatever, but at least he's practicing, which is interesting.
It puts them on the higher mode of nature. And
definitely.
And then being on that level of mode of nature, the advantage is that they also become opportune to be able to attract spiritual subject matter. And that's why you
Yes.
see that most of those people, you listen to many of Muhammad Ali, like you quoted, most of his interviews, he speaks very philosophically. And that was why he was able to attract personalities like Baptista Maharaj and so many other spiritual personalities. And you look at George Harrison, these are some of these celebrities, but because they have this kind of lifestyle, so it also becomes receptive, easy for them to attract higher personalities.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So we go to Dr. Hassan, please, you may unmute. And I hope this may be the last question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Your Grace. Please accept my humble respect of excellences. All glory to Guru Dev, all glory to Srila Prabhupada, and all glory to the assembled devotees. Thank you so much for this beautiful, wonderful class. I must say I've really enjoyed this class so much, and I'm really, really inspired. Thank you so much. This gives us purpose like me, inspires me a lot, because when His Grace Sahadev Prabhu, when he gives the classes, it is so amazing. And if you also step in, it's so very, very amazing. This shows that not if even nobody is coming to speak, we can still learn something and take great nectar from all of you. So thank you so much. My question is, I think at my stage, this question might look very funny, but I really want to know, why is it that Ratha Yatra celebrated in different days in different countries? Why? Because I think this special occasion like this, why is it that every country celebrates it in different days, not the same day as in India? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for this interesting question. And there are so many multiple questions. And just this question, because there are many, it also has multiple answers. But before going for that, I want to express that I like this your shirt. It looks very nice.
Oh, thank you so much.
I love flowers. I love flowers. So
yeah,
materials made out of flowers. It looks very nice.
Yes, I saw this Mataji Mitra, and I saw the picture of Lord Jagannath, and it looked the same. I said, "Oh, I was thinking of Lord Jagannath." Yeah, the colors.
No, so why do we celebrate Ratha Yatra? There cannot be one single answer for this, because there are so many reasons why people celebrate differently on different dates. There are those who will want to celebrate exactly the same day that Ratha Yatra is celebrated in India, and just celebrate other places. The number one reason is that according to the geographical calculations of time, just like you're in the US now, it's in the morning or maybe late, early afternoon. In my place, it's evening. And like that, different places in different parts of the world. So the timing is different. So therefore, justification for different timing is there. Secondly, why people celebrate, why there was something celebrated on different days is that, from my understanding, is that I've not read anywhere in the Jagannath story where it is said that a particular day, unlike Jamastami, unlike Mahaprabhu's appearance, I've not read anywhere where it is specifically said that, written directly, that Jagannath appearance is specific for a particular day. There might be writings in that regards. I've read Jagannath's story, and the commemoration of the day Jagannath manifested, which is what is celebrated in Jagannath Puri, is based on that consideration. But because the Lord is the Lord of the universe and is accommodating, so different devotees based on different reasons chooses a particular day. But it is said that Ratha Yatra should be celebrated within the month, with this particular period. But we've seen also over times that even in our own yatra, that based on place, time, and circumstances, Ratha Yatra is celebrated in November, sometimes in January. So there is, I've not read anywhere that there is a restriction to a specific date that Lord Jagannath's appearance is limited to. So maybe probably these are the reasons why devotees choose a particular day that is convenient according to their location, geographical places. But there might be some other scriptural reasons why others do what they do. That's why I said that there cannot be one answer. But the fact is that even if we talk about festivals like Janmashtami, the appearance of the Lord, the time of the Lord appearing, the time in India definitely will not be the same time in Nigeria. When I'm celebrating New Year in Nigeria, maybe it's in the afternoon on the 31st in US. So these are major factors that contribute to the different timings. Even Ekadasi, when we fast on Ekadasi, there are days that Ekadasi will all fast on one day, even in India and in West. And there are days that they'll be day apart. So based on the time calculation, according to the lunar calendar. So these are the only reasons that I know that contributes to this reason. But if any devotees have more other detailed explanation about this, they can share.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you for the question.
Hare
Dasa,
Krishna.
thank you for the answer. I also don't know much to that question. And when it comes to Srimad Bhagavatam, we are advised to speak from the scriptures, sadhus, and gurus. We don't have to use I think. But I haven't heard from the guru or the sadhu, and I have not read from the scriptures anything in that regard specifically, except that I know for sure that there is a specific set time for Jagannath Ratha Yatra, which is observed in Jagannath Puri, Orissa. So that date is there. They have a way of calculating, just as we calculate Gaur Purnima, Krishna Janmashtami. So they have such calculation, which appears every year. But we are not there. It's only one place on the earth. But Srila Prabhupada created a replica of that all over the world. And therefore, all over the world, we choose time that is convenient for the people to honor and celebrate that. So the date and time differs because we are not strictly following the strict disciplines as Jagannath Puri, Orissa observes. That's my speculation, but these are some things when we leave the class, we can go deeper to find out the right scriptural answers. So thank you for the question. And on this note, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Salika Prabhu, for stepping in and giving such beautiful Krishna Katha, which when I read it, I didn't know how to tackle it if I were to speak on that, because it's very detailed, and we can't thank him enough. So on that note, please, you may all unmute. Oh, let me see, hold on, before we do that, Ras Bilas said something here. Let me see. Well, that will take us a little more time. Ras Bilas, I promise you we're going to take care of your question next time, because I also had a question in that same regard. We'll continue, I'll mark it down, we'll continue it tomorrow, I promise. Thank you so much. So, Jai, let us all chant Hare Krishna mantra, please. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpataribhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai. All glories to Grace Salika Prabhu ki.
Prabhupada, Jai.
All glories to assembled Vaishnava devotees ki. Jai.
Jai.